Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and it is time for another Monday Musings. So, not the greatest week reading-wise. I've been pretty stressed out. So, I have Microsoft Office 365 or whatever it's called. And for some reason, it's automatic. It just goes through each month. And they charged me last month, but canceled my subscription. And when you just have it for personal, you can't actually call and talk to somebody. You can just do it over chat, which is annoying. And so I've been in contact with them the last 2 weeks, and they're just like, it's been escalated. The first guy was like, yeah, it's a known issue. Like, they're working on it. You'll get a contact for about a free month in 2 to 3 business days, and then an email about the resolution in 3 to 5 business days. Didn't hear nothing. So contacted it again last week. Oh yeah, it's been escalated, and like, you can use the free one online. And I'm like, that doesn't, like, I paid for it for a reason. So anyway, now I gotta contact them again today, and that's just really stressing me out. I really struggle with interactions, being autistic, and I'm using it. I use it to log my books. So I haven't been able to log my books. I like to do that right away, and I've been using it for my eBay books as well, just to keep track of everything. And so it's really, really frustrating that it hasn't been resolved. It's been over 2 weeks now, and it hasn't been resolved, and nobody's been in contact with me. I'm having to reach out to them, and you can't actually talk to a person. I mean, you're talking to a real person. Well, I assume it's a real person through chat, but there's not a number to call unless you have a business account. So that's been stressing me out because I hate having to talk to people, and it's ruining my routine, which, as an autistic person, like, routine is very, very big for me, and it's just throwing off my whole routine. So been a bit stressed about that, and just other things. So reading wise, a little bit slower this week, but I do have some books to talk about. So let's go ahead and start with the first book I finished this week, and that was The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. I did use it for Kim's game, which was a person, one of our Dryad prompts was a person running on the cover, so you have that here. This one, I think I ended up giving it 3 stars, um, which is really, really frustrating. So I've never read by this author before. I did read, like, the little author's note and such, which in a book like this, it's very important to read an author's note. So this is based on a real midwife from this time period. But in her author's note, she said, normally I stick really as much as I can to the historical facts. In this case, there wasn't a lot of information, and so I did speculate some, and I decided to use her as inspiration for her story. So it was inspired, not based on this midwife from 1789. And so it was inspired by, like, her diary entries and such. So it was very much told like that. Like, she's the female main character is telling the story. So she's a midwife, Maine, 1789. And so she keeps a diary, like, wasn't common for women to be able to read and write in there, but her husband taught her, and so she keeps this diary. And a man shows up dead in the river, and he's one of the 2 men in town who was accused of assaulting the pastor's wife, and the other one that was accused is a judge in the town, and he was, like, a French Indian War, was a colonel and such, and so he's, like, a very prominent figure in the town. And so this body's kind of tied to this assault, and nobody was prosecuted yet. And so is like a trial aspect, and it kind of goes through the different levels. And she talks about, like, the judicial system wasn't what it is back then. One thing I didn't like is she kind of speculates on, which was never written in the diaries, but she just speculates on Martha, who is our main character, her past, and she made something up for the story regarding that, and I wish she hadn't. Um, to me, like a woman, she did it because that would show why she had so much empathy for these women, and it's like not necessarily like she's a woman, like she could just have empathy for other women. And so I wish she hadn't done that, and it didn't really feel like the way the characters talk, it didn't feel like you were in 1789. She also references like these characters, Martha and her husband are referencing the bard, so Shakespeare, a lot. And I'm like, I don't know if that was a real thing. Like maybe they were in the journal. She doesn't say anything about Shakespeare in the author's note. I think the author, just really likes Shakespeare. And again, I just wish that hadn't been in there. Like, because it was they would quote Shakespeare and reference him a lot. Between the husband and wife interactions. And I don't know, it just kind of ruined that small town, rural Maine village vibe for me. Not that they couldn't enjoy Shakespeare, and if it had been like maybe that was a thing in the journals, but I think it was just the author inserting it there, and so I didn't really like that either. And I didn't feel like the story was very well balanced, because you have the trial aspect, and that was really interesting. And I can see maybe why the author went this route, because she was following the diaries, and she did say, like in the author's note, that the diary, could get very like repetitive and just day to day life. So I could understand her kind of doing that vibe, but it wasn't balanced because she has her children, and like she would just kind of throw interactions and they're like, oh, she hasn't interacted with her children in a while, maybe I should throw that in, instead of really incorporating them into the day-to-day life aspect of this book. And so it's like, if you're gonna do that, like make sure the other characters are balanced well in there. Her children live with her, and the way she would, like, for example, she says she's birthed 9 children, she has 6 still living, but you're only introduced to 5, and so you're like, so I had to go back and reread, like, am I mistaken? Like, did she say 6 or did she say 5? And so I went back and looked, and yeah, she says 6, and then she throws that 6th child in there way later on, like, oh, Hannah, my daughter's visiting her sister. It's like, okay, well, there's the 6th child, instead of introducing them when she introduced the rest of the children and just saying, she no longer lives at home, but she's, married off and doing her own life. And then one of the kids is mute, and when she introduced that kid, doesn't say that, like makes it like this big reveal later on. And it's like, you could have just introduced him, when you introduced him, explained, that he was mute. Like, so just like things like that where she's introducing but she's holding information back until later on to make it like this reveal, when it didn't need to be that way, and it just made things more confusing. But like the mystery, like the suspense of this trial and such, I like that aspect, and the historical aspect of it. And like, she was kind of a pioneer for her time, you know because women were to be seen and not heard, and and she was a midwife and such. But just the way, like, the interactions and such, I don't think she really captured the time period, or that small town village vibe. Um so so yeah, I did like how the ending played out though. So that was nice. But yeah, it wasn't well balanced. I don't think it was well written. It was well written in the sense that she really pulled you into the story to be there with these characters, but it didn't have the feel of a historical time period and the small village, because of some choices she made. And then, like I said, that balance was off with the other characters and such. So I did enjoy aspects of this, but I didn't love it. So there's that. Then we had my other one for Kim's game, and that was What Fury Brings by Tricia Levenseller. And so there's 3 prompts, and I had read Mockingjay for the free choice, which was last week. That was my first read of May. And then, of course, this was for running on the cover. And then this one, we had an activity. So we needed to read a book and then take a picture inspired by the themes of that book. And when I saw this prompt come up, I was like thinking about the books I had on my TBR, and I was like, oh, that would be a fun one. And so my husband was a good sport. He's not like one. He doesn't like to be on social. He has no social media at all. He doesn't like his picture taken or anything like that. But he was a good sport. So in this one, we're following Alara is her name. I had to think for a moment. And her kingdom. So this is a feminist rage story. And the author, there's trigger warnings, and she says this is, like I was writing this every time I would get upset about the way women are treated or such. I started writing this, and this is that fury that I have. And so what fury brings, and so you have this queendom, and it's a matriarchal society, and basically like 500 years ago, and there is a little bit of like magical element where they get like each kingdom has a different gift from their god or goddess. And so in this case, 500 years ago, in this, I'm just going to say kingdom because my brain just can't. So 500 years ago, this woman, she was abused, and so she just prayed to her goddess, like please, but she was like wanting to, just check out of life basically. And instead, the women of this queendom, I'll just say queendom, even though it's not called that. This women of this territory, they get strength over men, so they can overpower men, but only men. And like she's very open as far as like the LGBTQIA plus in this territory, and so like they can't overpower like anybody who identifies as female. They can't overpower essentially, but they can men. And basically, it's a flip. So how women are treated, men are treated this way, but to like the extreme. There's a guillotine for a certain body part and such things like that. That was a trigger warning, so just be aware. And so basically, the nobilities, because they tried to overthrow the women, now all the noblemen have basically are no longer alive. They're all just children now, any that are. And so the noble women, they still want that nobility blood. And so they have to go, it's like a tradition that they kidnap their husbands if they're straight women. There's different names for them in here because it's fantasy, but if they're straight women, essentially, they go and kidnap a noble husband from a different kingdom. And so there's another kingdom called Brutus, and they're very like manly, like the men are known for their strength and such. And there's a town that Alara and her territory have control over, but Brutus wants back, so they keep trying to take it back. And so she ends up shaming the king on the battlefield, and she doesn't want to start like an all-out war, and so she sends him back, but she sends him back in his birthday suit and basically embarrasses him. And then she wants to take it a step further, and she's like, and her cousin are competing to be next in line for the throne, but the nobilities vote on that, and her cousin has the nobilities' favor, and so she has the favor of like the people and the army and such, but her cousin has the favor of the nobilities, which is what matters. So she comes up with this plan to further shame the king and get the nobilities on her side. And so she decides to kidnap the second born son of this king. Well, when she goes to kidnap him, the second born son's drunk, and he's kind of like, why does this, they go to a brothel, it's his birthday, they go to a brothel, and he's like, well, why does she want him and not me? And since his brother's drunk and is passed out, he goes in, and so she thinks that he's the second born. And so there's that kind of secret, and he goes to this, gets kidnapped, and she's trying to train him and break him, and they have like harems of men and such, so like reverse harem situation, but she's not interested in that. And so she's trying to break him, and he's like, this is barbaric, like this is horrible. And she's one of my favorite scenes was she's like, let me tell you the history of us, of Amara. and which is the territory. And so she tells them the history, and she's like, she doesn't necessarily agree that like an eye for an eye, or the revenge aspect. Like she's like, it's messed up that we're doing to men as they had done unto us. But she's like, but at least we have a reason. Like, what is your kingdom's reason for treating the women of the kingdom the way you do? And it kind of makes him think. And so he's like, at first he's like, oh, this is barbaric, this is horrible. But then he's comparing it to his kingdom and what reason that they have. And it kind of changes. And so I personally really thought this was well done. I know some people don't like feminist revenge stories, but in this case, our main character doesn't hate men. It's not all men. She doesn't despise all men or anything like that. And she sees the problem with treating the men as the men had treated them. Like she sees that, and her second in command sees that as well. And they're trying to get, on the throne so that way they can change things. And so you see kind of him processing that, and I like that duality. Like, yes, this kingdom, but there was a duality between this kingdom of Brutus and then Amara, and the reason why the women were treating the men this way. And you see his thought process and such. And I just really enjoyed it. Tricia Levenseller's an autobi author. Like, I didn't even know what this book was about when I bought it. And then I was like reading it after I pre-ordered it. And I was like, oh, like it's one, I didn't realize, this is her first adult novel. She normally writes YA. And I've loved everything she's written. And yeah, so there's just something about the way this author writes that really hits the mark for me. And so feminine revenge stories aren't necessarily always my cup of tea, but I really like the way she did it in here. And I like their characters together because it's like she's very upfront, like, I'm doing this because I have to put on a show for the others. But when it's just me and you, like, you can talk to me freely. Like, you don't have to follow the rules necessarily, and I won't touch you without your permission, essentially. And so that their their dynamic I really enjoyed, and the conflict and such I thought made sense for the characters, and yeah, had a fantastic time with this. Definitely 5 stars. Then my next priority read is my family's book club read, which is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. And I have started this one. I'm only like 59 pages in. I finished 59 pages, so I'm on page 60 now. And this one we're following Amelia and her twin sister Vittoria. They're witches, and Vittoria gets murdered in a horrific way. And so Amelia is kind of going on the search, and her grandmother's always told her about the wicked ones, which are the princes of hell. And so she ends up meeting Wrath, and he's going to help her find out who murdered her sister. Essentially, I haven't gotten to that point. Her sister has been murdered, but I haven't gotten past that at this point. So I have started it. I'm going to plan on reading this one just each night in bed. So I'll probably read it over the week, versus kind of like binge reading it. I have till the end of the month to read it, so there's no big hurry on this. And I am enjoying the writing so far. And I kind of like that dark element and the witchy element, and the her family is Italian and have this restaurant, so I like that that's part of the story as well. And I really enjoy her grandmother, so I'm looking forward to continuing that. And then yesterday I did start Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. And this one I'm actually read 105 pages yesterday, and I absolutely am really enjoying this. I'm a little bit confused, and I don't know how much of it. I think this is translated. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's translated. Maybe not. Okay, I don't think it is actually, because it doesn't have anything about translated. But I have started this, and so I'm a little confused. Like some of the, because you're following Klara, who is an artificial friend, and so she's a robot, and she's in the store, and so like the first part, she's in the store and she's describing things she's seeing out the window, and I think part of it's me because like my husband will ask me to describe things and I can't. Like, well, what do you like about that? And I can't. So I think part of it's maybe me, and so you're not getting a clear vision because it's her perception as a robot of what's going on, and so it's not always clear. And then she's hoping to get bought by this little girl, and there's something with the children, and I don't know what's up with the children. Like we haven't gotten that far, we haven't learned it, and so there's something with the children. There's like times like it happened in the store and then it happened again in a different scene where like things are like segmented into boxes and I really can't picture what he's trying to say there. And is that a Klara thing? Is it the world thing? Like I have no clue. But I'm really drawn in by this and I'm really intrigued by what's the deal with the children, what's the deal with her child that she's an artificial friend for. And yeah, so I'm loving this. They're like solar powered robots, and so like she has this love for the sun, and so she's always talking about the sun and describing the sun and such. And he talks about it, like it's a sentient being, and I I'm really loving this one. I cannot wait to dive back into this tonight. It is hardback, and I did read it a little bit in bed last night because I wasn't ready to put it down, and so like that's the hard part with this one is because like I want to keep reading it, but it hurts my wrist when I'm in bed trying to hold a hardback, which is why normally I read a paperback in bed. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving this. I'm really looking forward to getting back to it this evening. So there's that. So those two I've already started. Um, Obviously, Klara and the Sun I'm going to focus on, and then uh, Kingdom of the Wicked I'll probably just read in bed at night. Then we have three more for my TBR game that I need to finish to complete my TBR game. TBR? And get that reward for that game. And so those are my priority this week. So first we have And Now Back to You by BK Borison. I loved First Time Caller. Well, I didn't love First Time Caller. I enjoyed it. And so and everything else BK Borison has written, I've really enjoyed. Like they haven't all been 5 stars. I think sometimes her balance with side characters is a little off again. That's just something I noticed. Like, is not as incorporated as well as other books I have read. But there's just something about her writing that really, really hits the mark for me. And so I'm looking forward to getting to this. We're following Jackson, who we met in the first one, and Delilah. They're both weather people. Delilah likes to go out on the field, and Jackson prefers, just to be more organized and nothing exciting. And so I believe they get like trapped in a snowstorm, and they both are sent to like go and report on the snowstorm, and then they get trapped. So I'm really looking forward to reading this, and that will be my last BK Borison book until the what is it, Grim Tidings or something comes out, which I'm really looking forward to that one. So there's that. Then we have another one that's very similar to Klara and the Sun. It'll probably be what I pick up as soon as I finish that one, and that's Annibot by Sierra Greer. Although this one deals with an AI robot that's used for like a relationship, um, like a physical intimacy relationship type situation, where Claire is obviously for a child. But I'm looking forward to this. I definitely have like this feminist angle going on this month. But yeah, looking forward to reading this, and it's super short, so it should be easy to read. So there's that one, and then we have another romance with Love is a War Song by Danica Nava. And I'm really looking forward to reading this. I read her debut novel, which was The Truth According to Ember, which there was some problems with that one that I didn't love, but I really liked the Native American representation here, and I enjoyed it enough that I'm looking forward to trying this one since it's a different premise. And now that she's gotten a book under her belt, maybe this will be a little bit better written. But we're following Avery, and she's a pop star. And she has a magazine cover that not received well, and so she ends up going to her strange grandmother's ranch, and Lucas is he runs like the ranch and such, and so looking forward to reading that as well. And then I'm hoping, which I probably will start this. I got the audiobook for this, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. My husband picked this up. I saw a thing and it was like April like 23rd is buy your partner a book and bring them a rose day or something. I was like, I don't need a rose, but hey, like, give me a book. So he ended up giving me 3 books, which was nice. And I told him, like, I really like, this is big right now. I really am interested in reading it, but I don't want like the movie theater cover or movie tie-in cover. And so it just says soon to be a major motion picture, which is fine. But everybody, of course, is talking about this right now, reading it. I recently read The Martian at the beginning of this year and ended up really loving it. So I was definitely interested in picking this up as already. And now that everybody's talking about it, I want to read it. And then I was watching Allison on a book break. She had her Orilium vlog, that one of them, I think it was the first one of her actually reading the books that came out yesterday, I want to say. So I was watching this, and she mentioned that she was told to get the audio of this, and then she did, and she's like, it's really good. I would recommend the audio if you're going to read it. And so I do like to have an audio when I'm doing chores and such. So I thought, I still have my credit for this month, so I'll go ahead and get this as an audio. So I do have the audio. So tomorrow or Wednesday, when I'm doing chores, I'll start listening to this. And then we've been playing World of Warcraft again. I played that a bit this weekend, and so while I'm playing that, I can listen to this as well. So I will start and finish this via audio this week while I'm doing chores and other things. So that one will for sure get done, because once I start an audiobook, I just like to listen to it. So those are the 6 books that I'm hoping to read. 2 I've already started, and then 4 that I would like to get done this week. And then that will be all my priority reads, my game reads. And then I just have a stack over there of, again, another book my husband got me, a series I want to continue, a book I saw, Becca Books and Bujo reading. So yeah, I have a stack that I would like to get to still over there. But these will finish up the priorities for me if I get all of this read this week. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And I've been watching Heartland recently, which I read the whole series. If I remember, I did a video on it, so I'll try to find it and link it down below. But I love the TV show as well. There's a lot of differences there, but I absolutely love the show. And so I just finished the first season of that, which the first season they did try to follow like the different storylines from the books. And so I was like, oh, I know that from that book. That was one of the book storylines. That was one of the book storylines. There's obviously changes and such, but I absolutely love the show. And I haven't watched season 19 yet, which is the current season that's out. But I decided I wanted to go back and watch it. So I've been watching that, finished season 1. And yeah, when I'm stressed and such, like, it's a comfort show. I've rewatched it a lot. Well, not a lot because there's seasons, but I have rewatched it before. And I've obviously read all the books and such. So I've been doing that as well. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at, playing World of Warcraft, watching Heartland, and reading books. I would love to know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, or if you're interested in any of these books. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go get to work on the computer. Mondays are always my computer days, so I don't know how much reading I'll get done tonight. But I'm going to go ahead and go do that. If you'd like to let me know you're here, but you don't want to comment anything, you can always leave a rabbit or any type of animal emoji. Maybe leave a sun for Klara and the sun, because I really am enjoying that aspect of it. But any any animal emoji or the sun that you want down below. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.